I'm not in the past. I'm a person that thinks to the future.
That's the thing is,
I just don't like wasting time on the past.
other people do have to know about how you got here.
I'm never in the past.
Right, I know.
Donald and I were cut-ups in school. We used to throw spitballs at each other and pull girls' hair. And that's how come we got DTs, detentions for Donnie Trump.
He was someone who acted out at school.
Threw erasers around, actually hit his teacher under the eye with one.
He took pride in being this tough guy who pushed back against other kids or against teachers who were trying to tell him what to do.
I don't like to talk about it, actually, but I was a very rebellious person. I loved to fight. I always loved to fight. All types of fights. Any kind of fight, I loved it, including physical.
Against his will, Donald Trump is sent to military school by his father.
There was mental hazing, there was physical hazing.
Donald ran up against Major Tobias like running into a stone wall.
He was a rough guy, physically rough and mentally rough. In those days, they'd smack the hell out of you, really getting in your face. I mean, like big league. You can fight the system. You're not going to win because you're not going to beat guys like this. Right. Or you can acclimate and deal with the system and evolve in the system. And I did that.
It was Donald who wound up an officer.
Fred spent 3 decades building his company, and he was now looking for an heir who he felt was worthy of inheriting that mantle and moving the company forward.
Early in life, Donald looked up to Fred Jr. as the big brother. He was a very charming, very caring young man. And yet, Donald became very competitive with Fred Jr. and really showed him no mercy. In the early 1970s, Fred Sr., he makes Donald president of the Trump Organization. Donald has made it. He is the future. Fred Jr. has not made it, and he's never going to make it.
Law 34. In your own royal fashion, let your colors unfurl, for acting like a king shall gain you the world.
Fred was a great guy, but he had an alcohol problem, okay? And he was such an amazing guy, and the best personality, best looking guy you'll ever see, and he had a lot of things, but he had an alcohol problem. His
passing is the first real loss in Donald's life. But Donald viewed Fred Jr.'s death as an example of weakness. They may be brothers, but they're still winners and losers.
My father was a very good builder, but he built on his own territory. He felt comfortable in Brooklyn and Queens. He never wanted to enter Manhattan. He didn't think it was his place.
Trump saw a powerful lawyer who could open Manhattan to him.
To Donald Trump, Roy Cohn is exactly what his father had called a killer.
Roy Cohn was a great lawyer. You talk about a controversial guy. I mean, he was a controversial guy. But if he was your friend, he would fight to the death.
Did you know his reputation?
Yeah, I did, but his reputation was tough. I needed a tough lawyer.
Roy knew that he could get headlines, he could make allegations, and that would stick.
Roy understood how to generate news and how the media worked, and he understood the interplay between public events and media coverage. Trump marveled at Cohn's understanding of how to sell an idea.
Donald Trump stumbles upon an announcement in the press that the Commodore Hotel, one of the grand old hotel properties of Manhattan, is sitting there unwanted.
Donald Trump came in to see me, and he wanted me to exempt his hotel from real estate taxes, which I had the power to do. But I said no. When I said no, he was extremely unpleasant.
Donald got very angry and threatened to have him fired. I was entitled to that abatement, and I am by law entitled to that abatement.
Attack the person personally. You have to destroy them because they're going to destroy you.
If you spent the same time trying to clean up our subways and clean up the city of crime, well, I don't know that you do. If you do, you're certainly doing a very ineffective job.
The Commodore was a stepping stone to the Trump Tower.
Law 28 of Machiavelli's Code. To be on top, you must act bold.
8 years ago, I must say I was embarrassed to say I was in the real estate business in New York. Today, I can honestly say I'm proud of it, and it's the #1 city in the world.
This is a picture that hangs in my office, and the picture is of Donald and me, in which he says, Roy is my greatest friend.
He was very loyal, amazing. He would kill for a person that he really liked.
I saw him in a couple of events, and he just looked sickly. He looked thin. And the rumor was that he had AIDS.
Were those reports true? No. Categorically, no, I do not.
Do you have AIDS?
Oh, no. That's easy to answer.
During that time when Cohn was nearing his death, Trump pulled away completely, cut off connections, didn't talk to him, didn't visit with him. There's a long pattern in Donald Trump's life of essentially washing people who are not successful out of his life.
What have these last few months been like for you?
I think the most unusual experience that a human being can endure, Mike. It's been a living death. I lived my funeral. I saw who was at my funeral, who wasn't at my funeral.
Roy Cohn died feeling very bitter towards Donald Trump.
Law 10 of the Machiavellian decree. Avoid the unhappy and the unlucky.
He realized his name is his power. This is his brand. He put it on there bigger and better than anybody did. Trump, 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 Trump.
He realized what Americans really loved was celebrity.
He knew that he wanted to be famous and fabulous and terrific, and he was going to do whatever it took to get there.
He would call you up and plant stories.
I'll tell you what, Bernie, come in and see me. Let's you and I talk, and then we'll see. We'll go from that stage.
We knew he was lying, but once you got a real relationship with him, he was very honorable about only calling you.
Donald Trump knew you could lie and bluster and bluff and mow over people, and it would all get you what you wanted.
He has now written a book. The name of the book is The Art of the Deal.
I'm telling you that the turning point in Donald's life was when he wrote The Art of the Deal. Then everything fell into place.
It would actually put him in the hands of millions of readers who absorbed this message of success and doing what it takes to win at all costs.
Law 6 of the power plot. Court attention at all cost.
I had a company, it was doing well. I had tremendous debt, like this country. And in 1990, the whole country, it just went very, very bad.
For the third straight day, a selling avalanche hit Wall Street.
Well, the Dow Jones index had gone down by over 100 points.
And finally, she filed for divorce.
Here comes the war of the Trumps. Ivana and the Donald are calling it quits.
This was the tabloid sex scandal of the 1990s.
It was a divorce in the tabloids over her dead body. Give me the plaza. Best sex I've ever had. This is the best one. Ivana, better deal.
A new kind of aura developed around Trump of being a very disreputable guy, really, instead of a shabby guy who cheated on his wife and who had incurred a lot of debt. I don't think it was fun for him anymore, and I think it drove him very dark.
I've had friends that went bankrupt and they were wiped out, so that the game is over. Some committed suicide. Right? There were suicides.
Why does that happen?
I think genetically some people can handle pressure better than others. One thing I learned about myself is that I have a very unique ability to handle pressure. I was underwater for billions and billions of dollars, and I slept very well.
Donald knew that he had to show that that was in his past, that he had to talk about his comeback.
So he was casting around for the next big thing. And along came a TV producer named Mark Burnett.
Trump starts The Apprentice when he's on the skids.
I was seriously in trouble. I was billions of dollars in debt. But I fought back, and I won. Big league.
Trump says, I've been up, I've been down, but he's not back on top. He's engineering his supposed comeback on the show.
Where do you see his future?
And if ever there were a man in America who fought big, it's Donald. I think New York is just a small part. I think he looks at the whole United States. And I think that cities and peoples who have read about him in national magazines and all that, are someday, not too far distant future, going to find him right at their doorstep.
Fellow Americans.
He started making jokes about Donald Trump.
No one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. That's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? And where are Biggie and Tupac?
What we had was this kind of sea of laughter and then this just pure island of rage in the middle of it.
It was the night of Barack Obama's revenge.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again. Excuse me, sit down. You weren't called. Sit down. Sit down.
I should have used 2 accounts, one for personal, one for work-related emails.
I will release my tax returns against my lawyer's wishes when she releases her 33,000 emails that have been deleted.
It is, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
For more than a quarter of a century, he's been one of the greatest shows on earth. You don't know what he's going to do next. You don't know what's going to happen to him next. And you can't stop watching.
Law 37 of the Laws of Power. Create spectacles, make them flower.
I don't think people change very much. You may slow down, but honestly, I don't think people change. I think I'm a very big believer in the fact that when you are a certain way, pretty much that's the way you are.
The essence was a vacuum. I think what has kept him going is a need to feed an emptiness. And he's been trying to feed that emptiness. There is an unfillable hole inside this person. And I think that is his fear and his destiny both.